For a long time, I was scared to share my true color, to be who I truly was. I was hiding in the story I was reading, fearful of what people would think about me. But this ends now. I have stopped running. I decide to accept my diversity. Today, I will share our story of neurodiversity and mental health awareness. Welcome on the ADHD Melly Show. Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I'm so happy. I see new faces today. Thanks, Florence. Thanks, Brian, to bring so much people. I see you doing it. I'm so thankful that you are joining me today. Thanks so much. And this subject is particularly important to me because I've started back school. If you don't know, I'm a part-time student. And also, I'm an entrepreneur. I make website and event. Like you can see below, you can replay the neurodiversity awareness event that I've done last Monday. So everything is recorded. You can watch the video with the caption, or you can simply use the audio as well. So there's multiple ways that you can enjoy the event. It was such a success. I had more than 400 people that brought a ticket and came. I'm just so grateful of what happened this Monday, and I want to say thank you. And I'm going to do something that I haven't done before. I'm going to show you the sponsors that sponsor the event because I want to say thanks to them, and I just want you to know what are the people that make that event possible, because it was a small budget. I put all my little money that I had and to make sure that the event was a success, and it was. People in the location were so pleased of what happened. The conference was amazing, so that's why I want to say thank you to the sponsor. So I'm going to bring them right now. So yeah, I want to say thank you to all those people because, like I said, nothing will happen without them, and I'm very so grateful for that. And every time that you buy the replay, you help me pay my tuition, because every money that's going to be used for the replay sale is going to be used for that. So I'm going to further ado. I'm going to bring Nancy with us and talk about how to support neurodivergent students. So clap your hand for Nancy. Woohoo!
Hey, Melly, how are you?
I'm good, and you? So talk to me a little bit more about yourself and what you're doing with your life right now.
Good question. I'm living life and being human. That's the big part. Thank you for having me. I so appreciate being here, and this is near and dear to my heart as well. We talk about neurodiversity here today. I am a speech language pathologist of 20 plus years. That is what I do on my day-to-day. I have a thriving private practice here in Los Angeles, and I also work part-time in a public school district because I want to make sure that everyone gets supported, right? It's not about whether or not you can afford to be supported. Everyone deserves to be supported. I am the co-host of 2 weekly award-winning live shows with Brian Shulman, Shout Out Saturday and What's Good Wednesday. I host my own show, Connected Human Conversations. That's about what's happening in the world and in life and what everyone's talking about and maybe needs to be talking about, but they are not. I'm a keynote speaker. I started the Radiating Real movement so that everybody would take off their masks, really encouraging people to show up as they are, as who they are fully, and tap into that unconditional love and acceptance. And from that, I started my second business, which is the Chick with the Tool Belt. It is a program where I am partnering with people for them to really find their inner voice and how to use it, the power of personal content on social media, how to create these rich, diverse communities and powerful revenue sources. And all of that sounds really good, but I'm a human being. I have a cat in my lap. Let's talk about like what life is really about. You can see the mess on the floor. I have my ups and downs like everyone else. And I'm just happy every day to be learning and meeting people who are changing my life with just who they are and their stories.
Yeah, and why have you decided to work with autistic? Because I know that you also have a job part-time where you work with autistic people. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because it was very interesting to see that. That's a little bit why I decided to invite you today, because you have experience, right?
Oh, I have experience, and it's a population that I truly love. It is hard for families because typically we get the diagnosis when, kids are kids, they're younger, and their parents see that their child isn't like everybody else, and they're struggling with things that other kids don't struggle with. And it's just, to me, there are positives that go with being neurodivergent, and I want to bring those to light. And I want every human, right? We talk about today, especially students, right? And we're talking about younger people, but neurodivergent children grow up to be neurodiverse, right? We're neurodiverse children and adults. We grow up and they're out in the world every day and they're successful and you encounter them all the time. And sometimes it's obvious, right? Sometimes you can see and hear what's going on. And other times it's these what we call soft signs. And, maybe it doesn't come out until someone talks about it or something goes wrong, right? But I love the population. I love the perspective. I love the mind, the way it works and sees things differently, the way it comes to the table so open and honest. And for me, connection and that human piece of having your community, we know it's not just me. Research tells us that that's so important for our mental well-being, and that as humans, we crave that. And the students I work with, that's a big area that they struggle in, right? Every day the social is challenging, and every day feeling connected to the world around them is challenging, and every day comes with anxiety and unknowns. And sure, that happens for us, but as I like to tell people, if you imagine being on the spectrum and you miss the little cues. So whereas neurotypical people will see something coming, oftentimes neurodiverse or divergent people don't really see it coming. It just happens and they're shocked that it happened. We talk about needing routines to help with that. That's so that really there's going to be differences every day. We can't control everything, but if we can control, quote unquote, as much as possible, then all that each person is taking in is what's happening in that moment. They're not having to figure out, like, what am I doing next, and now get used to this. So we talk about routines. We'll talk about all sorts of stuff, I know, but it's a population that I love, and I love their success. I love all the success, right, that anybody I work with and partner with experiences. But when you're with families and students who are dealing with, a kid who is different, and it's not bad and it shouldn't be bad, but that's what it feels like. And of course, when you get that diagnosis, it's overwhelming. And the first thing I remind my parents and clients, that I work with about is, it's the same child. You just have now a label that pulls together everything you're seeing. And with this label comes known treatments, right, to help thrive, to help get past some of these limitations. And so, for me, I love seeing where people on the spectrum fit in, where people around them are learning and accepting. That's incredible. Like, to me, it's just a population I love, and what they have to teach us in return, absolutely is invaluable.
Yes, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about my story of being not only a student in university, but starting scholarship when you were a child. They were always giving you homework, and you were so tired of your school day, and you were like, you needed to do more work, and the brain didn't work that way. You needed the rest, and how much time that I cried because I needed to do my homework, and how much I did hate school because I knew that I was not able to work as good as others because my grades were not like A's.
Right.
Sometimes I was failing because of my diversity. And when you have ADHD, sometimes you have difficulty in learning as well. And sometimes it can be frustrating because somebody explained you thousands of times and you still don't understand, and it takes so much time to just figure things out. And sometimes you feel like you're dumb, which is not necessarily true, right? So
No, there's brilliance in all of us, right? So for anybody to walk around feeling dumb is heartbreaking to me. And you're absolutely right. For so many of the students that I work with, especially in the public school setting, because I'm there during the day, I work with my clients, I know what's going on, but I see it happening. School is a terrifying place. School's not fun to come to. School's terrifying because there's so many unknowns. It's not fun because they feel like, yeah, I'm failing and I don't fit in and I have to spend 6 hours a day here working harder than everybody else, right? I'm working harder than everybody else, but I'm still not doing as well. And you're telling me that I should be doing better and you're helping me and you think you're doing everything right. And I'm really trying, but because I'm not on the spectrum, but I have learning disabilities and I have ADHD, and I remember being in school and I remember taking the timed math tests. We would take timed math tests and I would sweat through the whole thing because I couldn't work that quickly. My brain was never going to work that quickly. I still don't know all my math facts by heart. There's just, in each and every one of us, there's brilliance. And then each and every one of us, there's places we're going to struggle. And just because we struggle, it doesn't determine the rest of our lives and our future. The things we struggle with can become our strengths, right? We get to know ourselves. We get to understand what we're good at. We get to help other people who have been where we've been say, hey, listen, I know you're struggling with your multiplication tables. I don't know mine, but I think I've done pretty well in life. There's tools for this. And just like we should be supporting every student at school based on their unique needs, the community really has to decide all together that we want all learners, right? All learners to be successful. And what does that look like for each kid? Well, we know that people, Albin, yes. Every second, yeah. So Albin, this resonates with you, I'm sure. This sounds familiar. And if I'm off base, please hip check me back on or tell me that yours was different. But for me, to value, respect, and care about every student is important. But what we tend to do with our neurodivergent students is talk at them. We put things in place for them, and then we expect them to thrive. We don't stop and say, hey, I see you working really hard. What might make this easier? Like, what's on your mind? Or, oh my gosh, the classroom's too bright. Why don't we open all the blinds and we'll shut the lights? Oh, reading the white paper with the black letters with fluorescent lights makes your eyes hurt and your head hurt. You know what we can do? We can get this overlay and it's just a little bit blue and we can put it over while you read and that will feel good. You want, colors, you're afraid to make a mistake. I have erasable highlighters and I have erasable pens. There are so many different places where each individual could share so much if we ask, or at least be checking in when we put a system in place and it doesn't work for a student. We don't just throw our hands up. We go, okay, well, that wasn't working. Was there anything about it that was working? What else could we do? And there are so many things we can do. People know about routines, but do people think about the temperature in the classroom, the lighting in the classroom, all these things, the fluorescent lights buzzing? For people, maybe you're this way, like I am so auditorily distracted that those sorts of things will get in my head and like I can't hear the teacher talk anymore because all I hear is the fluorescent lights buzzing, right? Or what can I do because a classroom is loud? We've just chairs. What if I put some rugs down in certain places? What if you wore these headphones while we were speaking? Those kinds of things. And I'm happy to give more and more specific situations, but for me, it's like love, care, value, be interested, ask, everyone should be part of the process, not just neurodivergent kids, but make them part of the process. Things are happening to them all day long. And this is true for all kids, right? Things are happening to them all day long. And often they don't understand, like Alpin was saying, you didn't understand. So let's let them be part of the process and let's teach them. Again, we should do this for every student. What type of learner you are. I say to my kids, you're going to read this and it's not going to stick in your head because your brain doesn't like to see all these words on the page. So instead, maybe if we say it out loud or you highlight it or let's make a picture as you go, right? Let's try every tool we have. Again, check with the tool belt. It's not just about emotional well-being. It's about how we are in the world, creating organizational systems that fail. I'm queen of that. I'm queen. I love getting them in place. I love the beauty. I love the simplicity. It's maintaining them, right? So is it a difficulty with initiating? Is it a difficulty with maintenance? How are we going to help with all of those different pieces? And remember that at the core of it, we are working with a human being. And a human being with feelings. And one of the things that really bothers me most is if you have a neurodivergent student in your classroom and something quote unquote small happens and they have a big reaction. As adults, we belittle that. We're like, that wasn't a big deal. Okay, how about if we start by assuming that felt big to that student? They're not faking, they're not making it up, they're not being dramatic. Let's give benefit of the doubt and say, wow, that felt really big to you, and try and understand and honor that.
Absolutely. Don't worry, Janine. Jessinia, we're going to be back with your question after. You're going to be able to ask all the questions that you want. And I have this one in mind. It's just to keep the flow going. I'm going to ask any question after the last 15 minutes of the show. So it's getting better. If you don't mind, I'm sorry if you do. So, yeah. And you're talking about mostly kids right now that they need accommodation to succeed. But I have the impression that those accommodations are easier to find when you're a child in preschool or in high school than when you come back to college and you're like, oh my God, everything goes so fast. One session you have the impression that you need two to do that courses, and you feel like unsupervised. You don't need that much supervision, but I mean, they leave you with all the work and you need to do it, and they don't tell you anything else. They just put it all together and you need to figure everything out. And even if you ask for accommodation, you will have more time in the exam. Yes, you may have somebody writing the notes for you, but that's not exactly everything that you need, because that system is just not made for neurodivergent. They want you to succeed right now, right away. So for you, what will be your suggestion for those students if we go back to college? Don't worry, we're going to talk again about preschool, etc., etc. But if we
Absolutely.
go with college, because you were talking about the one in primary school,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that subject is very important to go as well.
Yeah, well, let's talk about all of it. So in college, right? First of all, let's talk about the system of education. I don't remember anywhere along the way someone teaching me how to take notes. They just tell you to take notes, right? I don't know. I was trying to write everything down. I didn't know how to take notes. I had no system. And it's the same in college. If you arrive and you go to a college class, they're giving you everything you need, quote unquote, without any structure.
Mm-hmm.
There's no breakdown. There's no breakdown that says, okay, you have all this reading to do. You might want to chunk it, like maybe 10 pages at a time. Like, look at the total number. How much time do you have? One of the things I do with my clients, and actually in my private practice, I only work with adult clients. So you're absolutely right, because sort of these people get forgotten about, right? Oh, great, you graduated high school. You made it through school. No,
Nope.
that's not my expectation for my students. My expectation for my students is you go on to do as much learning as you want to do and be successful in doing it. And so, I work with them, and one of the things I try to work with them on is, when you have something to do, and this is great for everyone, make a list of the estimated time you think it's going to take. Right. And again, lots of people with neurodivergence don't have a great concept of time. Lots of people with ADHD don't have a great concept of time. And so I will think this is going to take me 10 minutes, and an hour later, I am stressed out because I'm still not done and I have all this to do. So I say to them, sit down this first week. How long do you think it's going to take you to do? Write that down. Then as you do it, set your timer and find out how long it actually takes. So rather than going week after week after week thinking I know how much time it takes and getting frustrated and falling behind, I have a way to actually figure out how much time it might really take. And then I can come up with a structure from there. Yes, there is the Office of Students with Disabilities, like you said, and they will give you extended time, and they can have someone take notes for you. And some universities even will buy your books for you, so you don't have to buy them used, so they're not marked up already, which helps our brain stay organized better. But again, is somebody teaching you how to study? Is someone teaching you how to organize the best way to go about doing things for you? There's a piece that's missing, and I think it's missing throughout our education system. We go from you are regurgitating in your first couple of years to now you're supposed to be learning, and we don't teach you how to go into learning. Like, how do I retain this information? What works best for me? Hey, as a teacher, say to your class, are you noticing that you do better on the test where you read the stuff yourself, or are you doing better when you hear it? How about when you take notes? Help people learn their learning style. We're learning throughout the course of our lives, and this is not just the educational system. Living life, we're learning. You get into a relationship, you're learning. You get into a job, you're learning, right? These are things everywhere. And so if we can start earlier, and this is where the connection is, if we can start earlier in primary grades and in secondary schools, where like here's your learning profile. let's try a lot of different things. Here's a way to take notes. Here's 3 different ways to take notes. Tell me which one you like. And there are things available here in the United States where there are systems in place in terms of you have a team of people on a campus, a school psychologist, a speech therapist, a learning specialist, all people that can come together and create a plan to support learners who need things just done differently. You know, we can do academic assessments, we can do educational assessments, and we can see where in the educational environment we see you struggling. We can start to look behind the curtain and say, oh, maybe this is why. We can see this. Here's a plan we'd make. There's things. So there's a 504 plan. It's not the same as an IEP, but maybe you don't meet criteria, quote unquote, for an IEP. It doesn't mean you can't get support. And in the IEP, there's all sorts of services. And here's where, as a family, and I see it happening more and more. I had an IEP yesterday, and I was so like glowing because the teacher's like, no, I read his goals, and it's more about like public speaking, and we have that coming up. I was like, you read the IEP? You read the thing I sent you? Most teachers just, you know, it's like, okay, you're a kid in class, and here's how I do things. Not, I shouldn't say most. There are lots of teachers who this is how I do things. But we have the opportunity. And when you take that 504 plan or that IEP with you to college, right, you have systems in place, you've learned, they're documented, and you can bring that to the university and say, this is what I need. And for parents to know and students to know, hello, now it's a live show, for them to know that there is an Office of Students with Disabilities or something similarly named on every campus, to know that there are universities who actually have programs embedded within their school. So my nephew goes to Southern Oregon University, and I'm going to shout out to them because they have a program with, thank you, I'm doing jargon, thank you, Dale. I'm alphabet souping over here, but they have a program within Southern Oregon University. He attends same classes as his peers, all of that. But he started day one with a specific counselor who was knowledgeable about what he was going to need and worked with neurodivergence and neurodiversity and was able to liaison. Because just going up to your teacher and saying, you know, I have ADD or I have a learning disability, I need more time. That's not how it works. So that person even made sure he made it to social functions. You know, there are programs out there, and as a community, as an educational community, and as humanity, we are really come miles from where we used to be, where we were closing people who were different behind doors. That's not what we do. We are valuing difference. We are valuing diversity, and we are more and more seeing that what we think people with neurodivergence and neurodiversity look like or what they're capable of is very different from what we've seen in the old movies and TV shows where, you know, it's a spectrum. There's no one way someone with neurodivergence or neurodiversity looks or acts, right? But it gives you in an IEP, again, you tap into the resources. And one of the things I love about it is the family is part of the team. And I'm going to say this to every family out there who's advocating for their children or child at any level of education. I know speech pathology better than you do, but I certainly do not know your child better than you do. And so you are an important part of that team and educating yourself on all it's a whole new education. Absolutely. But there are resources and there are people on your team that will help you understand. And there are communities that you can tap into. I have, and my window's open, so I apologize. I'm going to close it because I hear some talking outside. I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to thank you all for the grace of giving me a moment, actually.
Don't worry.
That's neurodivergence, right? We're apologizing for being different or needing to do something that supports us. No, we're just being human. But you are an important part of that team, and getting educated and advocating for your child is an important part of this. And speaking with your child about all of this, so important. And I was saying something, and there's my ADHD. I started by saying something about why I was talking about this. If anyone remembers, please feel free to put it in the comments. Here we are, radiating real. This is my neurodivergent or my neurodiverse brain showing up. So I was talking about IEPs and parents getting, I had at least two families, parents who, thank you, Brian Schulman. If anyone knows of a university that would love to have me come speak, I would, special high school for language. Yeah, see, there you go. people are finding what they need, and when they get what they need, they're successful, happy human beings. But again, okay, Brian Shulman, you put me off track.
Take your time. It's totally fine. We're live and things like that happens, and totally fine. There's a lot of people in the chat today, more than usual, and I want to say thank you to everybody that are here. Don't worry, in like 15 minutes you will be able to ask all of your questions if you have any, so you don't need to worry about that. So I want to say you want to speak in university. Yes, you definitely should. And that's a little bit why I created the neurodiversity awareness event. We're talking a lot about the workplace in that event, of course. And I hope that you can come to Montreal and be there May 1st to the second edition. Maybe if that can be possible, it'd be amazing because, yeah, we wanted you there as well. So
you let me know. I know this year we were missing one another, but certainly, please. This is important to me. This is not just about education. This is about life and humans, and all of us starting to accept about ourselves our differences, but our differences in one another and valuing them. This is, this is human. This is living life. And okay, so you were part of the IEP team. You need to get educated and you need to advocate. Oh, I had 2 parents who came and wanted to meet me. Like, who is my kid working with? This nebulous speech therapist that's on campus. And maybe you find out her name and she's in and out. She's only here this day, but she's not here that day. Like, they reached out and were like, hey, can we talk? Can we meet? And I love that. And every time a parent does that, I, almost regularly at some point they'll be like, I'm sorry to take your time or something like that. And it's like, you are educating yourself and advocating for your child, and you're an important part of this team. Find out who your kid's working with, find out their schedule, find out if there's anything you can do at home, and bring home to school. If we want humans to be truly successful, we need to be open as educators to the fact that we don't know everything. And that I said, we don't know more about each child than a parent or caregiver does, and vice versa. Parents, I know, hugely protective of their babies and fierce lionessing, and that's wonderful. But you may come across someone, and maybe there were 5 speech therapists before me who didn't do it the way you wanted, or they didn't make enough progress. I had this year. Actually, I have a student who parents were like, we don't know if we want them pulled out of class because really they've spent all this time since 3 years old doing all of this. The student is tired of it. And I work in a middle school, academically stressful. And I said, fine, I get it. We make this decision together. I said, I'm going to ask your child to come in and have a conversation just to let her know who I am, what I do, what this is like. And we talked, and she went home, and apparently what I was then told was the whole family was so excited because I was the first person to include her in the process. Like, I get this is stressful. Would this be a good time to be out of class? Or what if we did it this? I said to her, hey, what if during nutrition, I'm walking on the yard and we just do 1 lap together? The days I'm on campus, every time I'm on campus, we check in, we see, let me know what's going on. Maybe I can give you a tip. Then you come back and you tell me it didn't work at all, or, oh my gosh, I loved it. So also as providers, we need to be flexible to what that is. But it was the first person that had, 6th grade, first person that had included her in the process. So yes, that was finally the thought from 10 minutes ago that I wanted to complete.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that kids have so much support because college is expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in Canada, you're allowed to get some some money that government gives you to help you study, right? And they don't when you do part-time. And the problem is sometimes students with neurodiversity, they need to do part-time if they want to succeed. It takes the same time, and then full-time to do 2 classes for us. And I think this is so unfair that I cannot have grants because of that. I cannot have more money. I have $800 a session. This is a joke, right? And if I do full time, I will be able to have 10,000. It's so unfair.
Yeah, you have 10,000. You could have 10,000, have your horrible self-esteem, and drop out. Right?
Yeah, and that's so unfair because I need to work. They expect me to work full time while I'm at school, but I cannot do that. I'm unemployed, and I want to focus on my study. I want to succeed, right? And I'm just stuck in a place where I cannot. where I stress about money because I need to work at the same time. I failed 2 classes last session. I had taken back this session because I worked, because I needed to work full time to be able to pay my rent. And that's a problem, okay? If I didn't have to work or work part-time instead, I will probably have succeed, right? And yeah, I feel so ashamed because I failed, but at the same time I understand why I did fail. I didn't have all the support that I needed, and that sucks. I'm just
Yeah,
going to
and
say it sucks so bad, and I couldn't study the way that I could.
mhm. And to me, the first thing that comes to mind, honestly, is you didn't fail. The system failed you. Like, you didn't fail. We set you up to fail. I'm going to take, I'm going to put myself as part of that community because I'm in the education community. We set you up to fail. And that's it. Like you said, it's not a matter of needing more time on a test. It's just needing more time. And, for people who are working as hard as everyone else in the room, times 10, there's got to be some understanding of different profiles. Not only, of course, don't feel shame, right? You're failing, you're learning. You learn like what you need, what you can do, what you can't do. Absolutely, Dan, you're right. It's then again, the system's failing you. So if you are going to take 2 classes and need to work to support yourself, what we're really doing here is we're making higher education elite. We'll only give you the money to be here if you can do X, Y, and Z. And if you can't, well, you just don't fit these check boxes. And so we're sending them, you don't belong here. How are students that need that extra time and that flexibility going to, right, make it through university or even get into university if we're not making allowances that human and living life is happening for all of us? And I love that you talk about it, because it's criminal to say that you can't do it this way, which will actually allow you to get your education, feel good about yourself, and share that story with others to give hope, right? And support. So it's really unfortunate. I'm so sorry that happened, but I'm glad, because you just told that story and somebody's going to hear it that's sitting there with a lot of shame that maybe didn't go back because of it. And they're going to go, oh my gosh, it's not just me and she's doing it. There's a way to do it. I can do it. So thank you for sharing.
And to be honest, I thought of quitting and say fuck that and sorry my language and not going back. I skipped 2 sessions and then I decided to come back a year later because I decided to create my GoFundMe because I had more than $2,000 in debt and past due, and they was about to send me a notice of they were going to give me notice, and maybe I will lose money even more because of that. And what was amazing is I found people that donated, and I was able to pay that debt. Now I still have my session to pay. That's why I put my college GoFundMe on the bottom if you want to donate. But if you also buy the replay of the show, it goes to the same place. So depend what you rather do. And this is the reason why I decided to create the neurodiversity awareness event. It was also because I don't want any people to live the same situation as me. And it doesn't not we're talking about support student, but student is easier than finding a job afterwards. Okay, trust me. Being a student is way easier. We're now talking about the challenges, but the challenges when you finish school is worse because try to find an inclusive workplace. They accept that you cannot do 40 hours a week. It's very hard, and finding part-time jobs is even harder, mostly when you have a specialization. If you want to find a student job, let's go for it. You're going to find probably part-time job. But the problem is you study in university to have a career, not a student job, right? And that's very hard. And at the same time that the pandemic arrived and all my classes were online, and that didn't help because I was stuck in my room all day and I didn't feel any support of the teachers. I couldn't go see the teachers and tell them I needed help for this, that. No, it was all at home, and sometimes they didn't reply to the emails, or they make you feel that you're too much for them, etc., etc. And inclusivity in college is not there, and is mostly the same in the workplace as well. So yeah,
Well, and I think you're right. It's harder in the workplace. And before I talk about it, because yes, this is, like I said, we forget about this, like you graduated, you're done, whatever. But I saw Michael Skiba say something, and Michael Skiba, I want you to know that you pick a date for Connected Human Conversations that you're available, and we are going to tell your story. So it's Sunday at 5 p.m. So let's find a Sunday and let's tell your story, because I know it's a powerful story and I know you're an amazing human. And if you are ready, then we have space for it and we're going to make it happen. Now, yes, in life and in jobs, you're doing interviews, you see that people are different, you know, we're uncomfortable with different. That tends to be like we already have something going against us, right? When we're trying to find these jobs. Then you go into these communities, especially if it's a large community, a corporate community, where there are sort of rules, regulations, and somebody's just making sure you're doing it the way it says to do it on paper. Very hard for us to fit in, right? I need more breaks. You can't just give me a morning 20-minute break. I'm going to need to do a lap around, and it's not going to be much, but I'm going to need another break, right? I'm going to need to stand, to sit on the floor, to play with things, throw things in my trash can. Like there's like literally play basketball across the room. Like there are things that my body and brain are going to need that are different from other people's. I'm going to need you to do things differently at a meeting, or, you know, kind of slow down. I need a recap emailed to me, or when I'm standing in the meeting behind my chair, no, not everybody's comfortable with it. Or, you know, on the other side of the spectrum, I worked with a human who got a job. They were aware that, you know, he was on the spectrum. They made lots of allowances for him, but he didn't know certain workplace etiquette even. So at home, you open the refrigerator, you eat what you want. At work, you don't open the refrigerator and eat what you want. So things came up. He had the employment, but things came up as he was going. And luckily, he was in an environment where they were committed, right, to learning and changing, to adapt. And there are lots of people out there who are talking to businesses, and that's it. Universities and businesses, hear what I'm telling you. You know, recruiters, hear what I'm telling you. There's value in different. It doesn't render us invaluable and incapable. In fact, you get someone on a team who's neurodivergent, who's going to look at that problem differently and have a different perspective, and you're going to blow people's minds off him. There, you know, then that is, it's helping the world understand that we've done it a certain way for a really long time. It doesn't mean it's the only right way to do it.
Exactly. So yeah, we're going to go with questions right now, because we're going to leave in like 10 minutes. So I want to make sure that I answer all your questions. I'm going to go back to Jasenia that asked you this question. I am a volleyball coach right now, and I any knowledge how to treat those individual on the sport settings to make them feel comfortable.
Okay. Well, what you would do with anyone else, let them know they're valued, let them know they're a part of a team, praise when they are great. The other thing that I see people do is we assume we lower the bar for people. Right. And we don't ever expect them to meet a higher level, and we don't challenge them. So challenge within reason. Let's push everybody to be their best self. Have a conversation with the kids on your team if you need to have them individually, or with everyone. We all do things differently. So here's what we know about one another here. Here's the expectations. We don't leave anyone behind. We're not making fun of one another. I'm going to write it here. Who likes to write? Here's a whiteboard. There's a kid that's not going to want to write because they're horrible at it, and the sensory and their handwriting, they need OT. They're not going. There's going to be somebody who does. So let's do it. Somebody's going to be able to do words. Somebody's going to be able to do pictures. Here's our plan for today. Put the schedule for the practice up. Keep the schedule pretty much the same. You can change the activities. You know, if it's a drill, it's always a drill, but the drill changes. And again, depending on what level you're at, talk to your students. Ask them what feels good to them. And please connect with me and Jasenia, because if there are more specific things that you want to know and you have a specific student in mind, I'm more than happy to have that conversation. But in general, it's about respect, it's about caring, and it's about making everything accessible for everyone. And that means doing it in a bunch of different ways. And the kid that gets to write is showing off their strength, and they feel good. the kid that maybe does the drawings, again, showing off their strength. And if it's for everyone and not just for Nancy, who's on the volleyball team, right? We are normalizing that this is how people learn, and this is what we should expect out of life. It's not like, oh, we're doing this for Nancy. No, it's for all of you. Here's how we're looking at this today. Here's how we do things around here. And to have that, again, don't shy away from challenging your neurodiverse or neurodivergent students. They'll surprise you every time. Jump over that bar.
Do somebody has another question? If not, I'm going to ask you if you want to say something else. I always give you the speech of the end. If you have something that we haven't talked about, you can go ahead and just say it.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to be team replay because I was really not paying attention to the comments. And I saw through the corner of my eye some really beautiful things being shared and some bravery happening. So I want to thank everyone for that. That's tremendous. And I saw some good connections happening, which I love to see. There's so much I could say. Oh, good. Thank you. And what I really am going to do are shameless plugs right now. So if you know somewhere I can speak on neurodivergence, whether it be a show, a keynote, universities need programs beyond that, workforce, workplace, recruiters, you have a group, a sales force, please reach out and connect with me. It's important that we all, in order to be happy, healthy humans, we all need to be successful and be part of a community. So let's together make that the expectation, and let's get the word out there. Let's get more comfortable with difference and learn specifically. Listen, there's a lot of companies, universities, and schools out there that understand that there are different learners, but then don't know what to do from there. They don't know what resources or skills or what they can offer even. So shamelessly, come find me, please. If you know somebody that could benefit from this, if you're connected to an organization that could benefit from this, anyone that can help with Melly and her GoFundMe, please send them her way. But that's really it, is the more I share my story, the more people I'm helping. The more I share my knowledge, it becomes wisdom that everyone carries with them, and they bring it to the next thing and the next person. So I just want to be talking till I'm blue in the face with big crowds and big people, and start small and let it grow, whatever it is. But to bring neurodiversity and neurodivergence to the forefront in a way, I know we're talking about it, but to where people really understand it, really believe that it's of value, and that it's not something we have to talk about like this anymore, because it's become part of our systems. It's become part of our everyday lives. And so we don't have to stand up and shout from the rooftops what neurodivergence and neurodiversity is and what you need to do to support people who fall into those categories. So that's my hope. And I'm more than happy to help. If you've got specific questions, please DM me, connect if we're not connected. Please. And your experiences, for those of you out there, your experiences are as valuable, if not more valuable, than me just speaking. Mine's valuable because I come from a place of having gone through school unsupported. But the more people who talk about their experience and people understand, because often people aren't seeing our struggles, right? We're the kids that hold it together all day in class. Maybe we have outbursts and kids think we're teachers and kids think we're the bad kid. But for the most part, we're not able, especially when we're younger, to say, this is what's going on with me. Like, I'm working harder than everybody in the room, you idiot. You have no idea that my friends go home and they can play and I can't, because I'm stuck at the table crying because I can't finish the homework, because I just don't get it, no matter how many times it's explained to me. So please share your stories, share your experience, and share the beauty of neurodiversity and neurodivergent.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say that too. And this is why more people need to do events and podcasts. And if you want to join the podcast, you can DM me as well. I'm always searching for new guests to share their story. And like I was saying, the Neurodiversity Awareness event is coming back May 1st. And I'm still searching for sponsors and speakers. So anyone that wants to come to Montreal, please tell me. I'll be happy to include you in the organization, because I organize all by myself, okay? And it's hard, and I really love to have people to help me as well. Like you can see, my English is not the best. I'm a French speaker. My first language is French. So that's a little bit why sometimes I'm searching my words. And yeah, I'm so happy to meet you all. I'm so excited to see all those
Sorry,
people.
I'm
And
interrupting you because before we go, everyone needs to shout out to Melly because she is doing these things on her own, and she is creating these environments where neurodiversity and neurodivergent divergence is coming to the forefront and people are learning and it's changing things. So Melly, what you're doing is amazing. Please, for May, let's talk about it. If I'm a good fit for you as a speaker, let's talk about it. And yes, I saw remember, you're not alone. And all it takes is one person to see a student, really see them to make a difference.
yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy to have you all. Like I said, the event is in Montreal, but you can replay it, the first episode, and it's also a live stream. I always make sure that everybody can enjoy the show, you know. So I will see you next week, and I hope that you will come back next week to see me, even if it's another guest. Please come follow me as well. I hope that you're going to support me in the future. I know that you're all here for Nancy, but please follow me on YouTube, follow me on LinkedIn. So I hope to see you next week. And thanks again, Nancy, for being here today and your little cat.
She's still here. Bye, everybody.